had always been a skeptic, dismissing tales of the supernatural as mere products of overactive imaginations. My profession as a journalist demanded evidence, facts, and tangible proof. So, when I received an anonymous tip about a deserted town named Silent Hill, rumored to be haunted, I saw it as an opportunity to debunk the myths and perhaps write a compelling piece on mass hysteria. The journey to Silent Hill was uneventful. The GPS led me through winding roads flanked by dense forests, the canopy above almost blotting out the sun. As I approached the town, a thick fog enveloped my car, reducing visibility to mere feet. The air grew colder, and an unsettling silence replaced the chirping of birds and rustling of leaves. I parked at what seemed to be the town's main square. Dilapidated buildings lined the streets, their windows shattered and doors hanging ajar. The atmosphere was oppressive, as if the town itself was a living entity, watching my every move. Equipped with my camera and notepad, I began my exploration. The first building I entered was the old schoolhouse. Desks were overturned, and faded drawings adorned the walls. A sense of melancholy hung in the air. As I snapped a few photos, a faint sound reached my ears, a child's laughter. I froze, straining to locate its source, but it dissipated as quickly as it had come. Shaking off the unease, I moved to the town's library. Dust-covered books filled the shelves, and cobwebs draped the corners. As I flipped through a particularly old tome, a whisper brushed against my ear, saying, "Leave while you can." I spun around, heart pounding, but saw no one. Determined to uncover the truth, I pressed on. The next stop was the hospital. The scent of antiseptic still lingered, mingling with the musty odor of decay. Operating rooms stood frozen in time, surgical tools laid out as if the doctors had just stepped away. In one of the rooms, I found a patient log. The last entry was dated over 50 years ago, detailing a sudden outbreak that had plagued the town. As I read, a cold breeze swept through the room, and the lights flickered. The temperature dropped sharply, and I could see my breath forming misty clouds. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway. Gathering my courage, I called out, "Is someone there?" No response. I decided to follow the sound. The footsteps led me to the morgue. The metallic scent of blood was overpowering. Slabs, once occupied by the deceased, were now empty, but the sense of death was palpable. On one of the walls, words were scrawled in what looked like dried blood. "They took our souls." A sudden crash startled me. Turning towards the source, I saw a gurney had toppled over, though no one was near it. My rational mind struggled to find an explanation, but fear was slowly seeping into my resolve. Leaving the hospital, I noticed the fog had thickened. The sun was setting, casting eerie shadows that danced in the mist. I decided to find the town's church, hoping it might offer some clues or at least a place to rest. The church stood at the end of a narrow street. Its once grand facade was now crumbling, and the large wooden doors creaked as I pushed them open. Inside, pews were scattered, and the altar was draped in tattered cloth. Candles, long extinguished, stood in holders covered in wax drippings. As I approached the altar, a sense of dread washed over me. The air grew heavy, and an oppressive force seemed to press down on my chest. I noticed a trapdoor behind the altar, partially hidden under a rug. Curiosity piqued. I pulled the rug aside and lifted the door. A staircase descended into darkness. Using the flashlight from my bag, I made my way down. The steps creaked under my weight, and the air grew colder with each step. At the bottom, I found myself in a small chamber. The walls were lined with shelves holding ancient tomes and peculiar artifacts. In the center of the room stood a pedestal with an open book. The pages were filled with symbols and writings in a language I couldn't comprehend. As I examined the book, a sudden realization hit me. This was no ordinary town. Silent Hill had been a place of dark rituals and sacrifices. A loud bang from above jolted me from my thoughts. Footsteps, heavier this time, echoed from the church above. Panic set in. I hurried up the stairs, but as I reached the top, the trapdoor slammed shut, plunging me into darkness. Frantically, I pushed against the door, but it wouldn't budge. The footsteps grew louder, descending the stairs towards me. My flashlight flickered, and in its intermittent glow, I saw a figure at the bottom of the stairs. A tall, shadowy silhouette with glowing eyes. Desperation took over. I threw my weight against the trapdoor repeatedly until it finally gave way. Scrambling out, I slammed it shut behind me. The church was now filled with whispers, unintelligible but filled with malice. I ran out into the foggy streets, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The town seemed to have changed. Buildings appeared distorted, and the streets twisted in ways that defied logic. I needed to get back to my car and leave this cursed place. But as I navigated the labyrinthine streets, I realized I was no longer alone. Shadows flitted at the edge of my vision, and guttural growls resonated from the fog. My pace quickened, but no matter which direction I took, I couldn't find the town square. Exhaustion set in, and I stumbled into a small alley, hoping to find a moment's respite. As I leaned against the wall, trying to steady my breathing, a voice whispered directly into my ear, "You shouldn't have come." I turned, but no one was there. Panic surged anew. I bolted from the alley, only to find myself in front of the schoolhouse again. It was as if the town was playing tricks on me, leading me in circles. Determined to escape, I decided to head in a straight line, regardless of obstacles. Climbing over debris and pushing through overgrown foliage, I pressed on. The fog seemed to thicken, wrapping around me like a shroud. After what felt like hours, I saw a faint glow ahead. Hope sparked within me. As I approached, I realized it was my car, headlights piercing through the mist. Relief washed over me, and I fumbled for my keys, hands trembling. I jumped into the driver's seat, started the engine, and sped away, not daring to look back. The fog gradually thinned, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. As I reached the outskirts of the town, the sun broke through, casting warm rays that felt almost foreign after the chilling experience. I didn't stop driving until I reached my apartment. Once inside, I locked the doors and collapsed onto the couch, trying to process what had happened.